Hello, welcome. My name is JesseMcDesign. Today, I'm going to show you my process of doing a digital painting. Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to do this one a little different. I'm going to have this time lapse running, and I'm just going to kind of talk about it. Here, I brought in a bunch of different references. I don't normally do it this way particularly. I do usually use references quite a bit. But here I use them to get a rough layout of my piece a lot quicker, rather than just having the references on the side and just kind of sketching this out by hand. Either way, it works, and I'm going to go in and manipulate these images quite a bit anyway, so getting a rough out. Now I'm just going to go in and start rough outlining all this different stuff. Again, I'm just getting rough ideas onto the canvas. And there's a lot going on here. We're going to be just bouncing back and forth. This is kind of how I do it, especially on something like this. This canvas is going to be, the original size is 1 foot by 3 foot, which will be actual canvas that I'm going to paint in acrylics after this video, or maybe after 2 videos after this one. Who knows how long that painting will take. And now you can kind of see I got this rough outline going. I'm gonna start just blocking in just some basic color just to see where all that lands and how I like the tones that I'm picking here. I'm just kind of working things out, just kind of in between doing different stuff. Again, this is a bigger piece. It took me quite a while to do this whole process. And now I'm going in and starting to define some parts of this snake a little bit better. I wanted to get in that belly of the snake drawn in a little bit nicer. You can kind of see doing these flowers with that pinkish color. I'm drawing the squiggles with that pink, and then I'm going around those with the outline so I'm not trying to outline that free hand style and try to make those the same width. I just use that paintbrush is the width I want it to be, and I just outline that brush stroke. Again, just a lot of re-manipulating all of this drawing and stuff. And now you just saw me move that flower over like I was talking about. I just want to, just help differentiate different things. I don't want to be one side too crowded more than the other. Again, just a lot more outlining. We're gonna actually go back and do a final outline once we like where all this is going. And now this is something a little new. I popped in this little border just to give it a little more detail. We're going to add little gold spheres in the corners and everything, just to add a little something, a little more dimension. It helps, kind of gives that effect where the images overlap in that border, that it pops off the canvas a little bit more. And now, like I was saying here, we brought in to a new canvas that is the actual size 1 foot by 3 foot. And it's a little bit smaller now, but we'll end up scaling it all the way to that final size. Right now we're doing that final line drawing I was talking about, which is basically just going over everything that's here already. I'm pretty happy with where it's at. We're just making everything real nice and smooth. You can go into ProCreate brushes and use I don't really know what the function's called, but it kind of generates a smoother line, which is really nice. And I have that only set onto like one specific brush, so it's like my final outline brush. And I'll also go in and maybe change a few things here, add a few more details. We're going in now with a kind of thicker brush, and then we'll go in with a real thin one to add those really finer details and get a few more little things popping that wouldn't normally. You can see just a few things as I'm lining them. I am moving them around just a little bit just to get them in the right position where I like it, where it looks better, where it might fill up an empty space or something. All right, so now we're pretty happy with that outline, and we're going to start rendering in some color and details into this thing. I started off with the snake, just going in with this the pattern of the back. I kind of did this freehand style. I found this weird splotchy brush and painted just a random pattern on there, and then I went ahead and outlined the outside of that pattern to create the pattern that I wanted. Now that we got that outline on the back, that's the final outline, we scaled it up to its final size, and we're gonna start just blocking in basic colors. I like to do this with my normal paintings as well, as just kind of like that underpainting, I believe people call it. And I try to find like a nice medium brighter tone, but that just kind of helps me get, you know, an idea of the whole canvas being one piece and where all those colors are distributed and how well it all looks together. Brought in a couple of those references again just to help me out with some rough shading areas. I'm going to go in and really just focus on one light source, which I'm going to bring from the top right down on everything, and that should come across as we go on in and start really detailing this stuff out and putting in more shadow and highlight into everything. But getting in those rough ideas off the bat just really helps me a little bit. I also want to get in that little bit of a grayish brown tone into those rats to add that extra color. And now I just brought in some main shadows that are going to be brought off from the canvas as if the canvas was the ground surface. And that, again, that just helps make this image pop off a little bit more than normal. And then again, we'll go in and add in even more shadow and highlights as we render this and paint all these little critters on their own. I started messing with those highlights on these leaves and then going back and adding those darker areas like I was talking about. And I really wanted how the leaves are kind of fall in and fold in to really stand out, and doing all those little details really helps with that. From here on out, it's going to be just a lot of little details and stuff of stuff I've basically been talking about this whole time. Now we're just working on these flowers. Again, same thing, working on the shadows, working on the highlights, just bringing them back and forth, you know, using that mid-tone that we used originally to just kind of play with those a little bit and make sure they look just right. I don't really know how to explain it other than that, you know, it just wants to look right to the eye. Again, you want that light source, if it's coming from the top right, it's coming down this way, those top edges are going to be brighter than the stuff over here is going to be in the shadow. Just kind of work with that back and forth, play with it, kind of try and figure it out, see what works, see what doesn't. So I started thinking I want to play with some textures here, just because I can. You know, you have those brushes in ProCreate, you can really do stuff like this a lot easier than if I were to hand paint it, which I started that. You can kind of see it in the background there. I'm debating how well this is going to be pulled off in the real life painting that I'm doing, but again, we're just playing with that pattern in different tones. I was just bringing it back and forth to where I liked it. It's just kind of fading that pattern back and forth across those two tones, the darker blue and that light blue. And then now we're just bringing out that white pattern that I really like, that I wanted on this thing a lot. And here you can really see those shadows just really bringing that belly of the snake to life with very little effort, really. And then I just kind of go in and just fine tune it, smooth it out a little bit, add a couple of those little highlights and darken up a couple of spots to make it really look dimensionally right. Just more and more details. I don't really have anything new to say from here on out, I don't really think. Again, it's just working with that light source, those shadows, those highlights, just doing the basics, but just really playing with stuff. I end up manipulating some of the fur in these rats. I did those last because they're on the foreground. I do always work from back to front, which would be the background, the branch and leaves of this thing, and then the snake, and then on top of all that are those three rats. So by the time I got to those, I started, you know, playing with the fur and just kind of manipulating those just a little bit here and there, just to add in different areas to make them look a little bit more realistic and not just a flat 2D image. And working with like this rat, I wanted it to be basically a white rat, but you can't have white be a whole white, you know. The dark of white would be like a gray, but I like this like a brownish gray tone I picked. It really worked well. As you can see right there on the back of that top left rat, I just added those little area to the back. That's kind of something I was just talking about, where I've added some more dimension to that rat specifically. You know, added that tuft of fur on the back just to give it a little bit more, and it gave me more areas to shade and just kind of a little more dimension to everything. It makes it look a lot nicer. All right, we're coming up on the last little bit here. If you want to give me a follow on my Instagram, I do daily updates on this stuff all the time. When I'm working on it, I'll take a progress pic or a video or something of that nature and give updates on what I'm got going on, whether it's an art project like this, an actual painting. You know, I got all kinds of projects going on. Who knows what it could be, but I would appreciate it. And now we're just doing the final little touches I was talking about. We're going in with like that black wash and just darkening some areas that really need to be brought back, and just putting in those extra dark shadows to make things pop real nice. And then we'll go in with that whitewash I was talking about and making those the opposite pop. And then our final little details will be adding my little signature mark on the bottom corner of this thing. And then I went ahead and did a fine white outline on that top right edge where that light source would be hitting, on just the main characters, you know, those 3 rats, and then like the head and main first little neck portion of the snake there, to really just differentiate those off from the other areas and just make them pop that extra little bit. Alright, so thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, it really helps. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe. I'm always over here doing some sort of art project, something creative, furniture, home decor, who knows? Leave it in the comments what I should do next. See you on the next one. Darker, like a real, like a